up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be reacting to a mock draft that was sent in from one of you guys. This comes from my man Dylan, and Dylan had a pretty bold claim when he sent this in. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to our video. Glad you guys are here, and we're back to react to another mock draft. This is the second episode of mocking the subscribers mocks. It's a pretty bad title. I don't know what to call it, but you know what I'm talking about. We did this yesterday, and I've got a lot of people to send me in mock drafts since then, so I do appreciate it. Maybe yours will be next, so make sure you send me a mock draft on social media. If you don't have social media, you can email me at doseofgaming@gmail.com. If I don't get back to you right away, just keep in mind, I got a lot to look through. So I kind of just pick one randomly and I just roll with it, because I feel like if I start looking through them, I'm like, oh, I like that one. So I don't want to do that. I just pick one and I roll with it. And this one came with a pretty bold claim when he sent it to me. So I'm thinking, okay, this is perfect. Somebody's going to take this as a challenge, because here's what he said when he sent it to me. Can't find a better draft without trades. I'm like, oh, snap. He really just said that? You really just said that? All right. Hey, someone's going to take that as a challenge. You can't find a better draft without trades, so let me know. Let me know. Can we find a better draft? You're about to hear what our man Dylan has for the Detroit Lions in this one. I think it's pretty solid, but is there none better? I don't know about that one. Now, obviously, none of us know, how the draft is going to turn out for like 5, 6, 7 years. But we all do have our own opinions on which players are, good and stuff like that. So in this video, I'm going to break down these picks. I'm going to give you my thoughts on each prospect. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So let's start off. Again, only 6 picks. He did use the yellow mock draft simulator. I think it's called the mock draft machine, the one where you have to pay to trade back. So if you guys want to use that one as well and do no trades, people feel about it. So let me know your thoughts on Dylan's mock draft. So let's get it started. Coming in with the first pick in the 2021 NFL draft at number 7, my man Dylan selects for Lions wide receiver out of Alabama, Devonta Smith. Yes, this time it's Devonta Smith. It's not Jaylen Waddle. So I've watched a lot of Jaylen Waddle and Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase, and I'm still trying to decide who do I like the best out of these 3 receivers. I mean, you got Jamar Chase, who I thought was so talented in 2019, but he didn't play in 2020. You have the Heisman in Devonta Smith, then you have Jaylen Waddle, who is just like freaky fast, all right? He's like Jimmy John's.
Oh, Jimmy John's.
Jimmy John's here.
So who do I like the best? Well, I'm going to say this. As of right now, and this could literally change tomorrow, the receiver I like best by literally like that much is Jamar Chase. But that's it. I mean, that's it. And that's not a slight against any of the other receivers, because Chase probably won't even be available at number 7 for what I'm seeing. All right. So we get Devonta Smith. So let's just focus on that pick in general. Now, I do want to address the fact that I say, hey, I'm not sure if I want to take receiver top 10. It's not me saying that I don't think these receivers are good. Of course, I think these guys are ridiculously talented. I can't tell you how many times I've watched these guys over and over and over, and I'm just so impressed. But the reason I say that is I believe the receiver positional group in this draft, and in most drafts, is the deepest positional group. So I just question, would I rather just trade back if I can get an offer instead of taking a receiver? Now this one is without trade, so obviously he can't trade back in this one, because we do only have 6 picks, and if the Lions try to bring back Kenny and Romeo in free agency, that's pretty much the only moves you're going to be able to make. I mean, you're not going to really make like any other splashes in free agency whatsoever. So at that point, the more draft picks, I think that could be really nice, looking as we're building this at least as a 2-year deal, not necessarily win it now. So that's why I say that, not because I'm saying the receivers aren't talented, and I'm not against taking a receiver top 10. I just know that the class runs very deep, but I'm definitely a fan of Devonta Smith. So Devonta Smith coming off a Heisman season, the biggest concern that everybody brings up for the 6'1", 170-pound wide receiver is what I just said, 170 pounds. It's like, oh, wow, that guy's way too small for the NFL. It's not going to work. Here's what I see with the size. I don't even see an issue with his size in terms of getting off the release, at least in college. Now, in the NFL, it could be a different situation. I'm not sure, but I think he's so smooth. That's the word I used to describe him a couple months ago, and I think the word still holds up in his entirety of his game is smooth. Route running, the ball's in his hands, just working his way to get open. Everything. He's just such a smooth player. I mean, it just looks like he's gliding on the field at times. It's so cool to watch. And he's got the great long strides. I mean, he's just so smooth with his gameplay. So I don't even see that much of an issue with him getting off the release. Maybe it will be in the NFL. I'm not sure. I just didn't see it that much in college. I see more of an issue on contested catches. The reason I see an issue there is because I don't see him very often pulling in passes that he's contested with and really just taking it from a defender, taking it out of the air with contact. I see him make a lot of great catches, kind of jumping up, taking it out of the air, because he does. I love it. He catches with his hands. He doesn't let a ball come to his body. He goes and takes it, which I love it about him. But I haven't seen many instances of that when he's contested. That's the only thing. But that's not always his issue. First off, it's a really good scheme. And two, he just gets so open. So it's not his fault. He doesn't have to, right? That's the only really major concern I have with his size in terms of weight. That's really it. And I don't know how he's going to translate in the NFL in terms of if he's getting pressed. But it's difficult to press him because you know that he can go by you. Not to the same extent of Waddle, but you know that he can. So in the NFL, could be a different story. That's the major concern I know everybody brings up. But you got to like a lot of things about his game. He's got really good hands for the most part, just over a 2% drop rate, which is pretty insane. His production is out of this world. Now, I know he has all these screen yards, but he also has the most deep yards. So to be fair to him, a guy that has over 1,800 receiving yards that wins the Heisman, he's doing something right. You can put him at slot, you can play him at outside, at least in college, that is. We'll see how that translates. Because versus some corners, it could be an issue. Very fast and physical corners, not a ton of those. Really elite, talented corners in the NFL could make it kind of difficult on Devonta Smith in that way. So maybe he bump to the slot better in those matchups. Really not a place on the field where you don't want to have this guy with the ball in his hands. Also, another thing kind of going to his size, he doesn't break many tackles whatsoever. Yards after the catch, he can get a pretty good amount of yards after the catch because he's pretty fast. He's got the great long strides, but he doesn't break many tackles. Usually once he's wrapped up, he's pretty much going down. Okay, I really rarely saw him break any type of tackles. So yeah, I mean, look, the size is clearly the biggest concern here, but in terms of what can he do on the field, he can do end arounds, he can do jet sweeps, he can catch screens, he can go deep, he can get corner routes over the middle. I mean, he literally has the entire package in his game. It's really just about the physical side, taking a hit and coming down the football. I didn't see it that often. So that's the only concern I have about his game. But does he have hands? Yes. Can he route run? Absolutely. Is he fast? Yes, sir. Great receiver, versatility, I love it. So with the 39th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions or Dylan selects Dylan Moses. Okay, Dylan, did you select him because his name is Dylan too? I'm just saying, you might have. Did you? Come on, don't lie. Did you? Come on. All right, maybe not. Either way, you selected Dylan Moses out of Alabama, the 6'3", 240-pound linebacker. By the way, if you guys see me looking over here, it's my notes. Kind of reminds me I'm working on some notes off to the side, and I always type them on here. So that's why I look over there. But anyways, 6'3", 240 pounds, you select Dylan Moses. Now, the first thing I think when I look at this is, I think that's a reach. But I can understand why some people might value him this high. See, I think there's reasons to value him this high or even higher. A lot to prove, and he's not as polished as you like for a linebacker or really any position in the second round. That is for sure. So let's talk about it. So Dylan Moses is coming off a not good 2020 season. He did come out in January and said that he played the season injured, and he was injured throughout the season. And he also had to deal with some stuff off the field, which you hate to hear about. So it really wasn't the easiest season for Dylan Moses, but you do love the fact that he was a competitor. He's trying to be out there for his teammates. He tried to fight through it. I can't question the heart. I can't question it. That's what he did. And, I can't question that whatsoever. But he is coming off a very rough season where, honestly, he looked lost many, many times. He just didn't seem as impactful as maybe in the past. And I think it potentially could have lowered his stock. Coming off a torn ACL injury, so you just wonder to yourself, okay, how serious is this injury going to be? Anytime I see a torn ACL, I'm concerned. And it's something I look into. And if he struggled in 2020, even if he played for it, that can make you excited to think, okay, once he's healthy, he's going to be even better. Or it can make you a little bit nervous, like, oh no, is this something that, he's going to be dealing with? How serious is this? Some players you've seen bounce back haven't really seen that completely for Moses, and he didn't even say he completely bounced back. So it's something to look into. It's a legitimate concern with that injury. But why could he be valued so highly as a second round or even maybe a first round pick? It's because of his athletic ability. And this isn't something that, he just got last season. Why people say that, you can't teach speed and that kind of stuff. Let me tell you this little story. So the story goes that back in 8th grade, he went to an LSU football camp, right? LSU football camp in 8th grade. He wanted to go to LSU. And he ran a 4.46 40 at the camp in 8th grade. They offered him a scholarship shortly after. Now, he ended up going to Alabama. But this guy has been athletic since he was yay high, all right? I'm just saying, that's remarkable. 4.46? Man, I probably can't even get under a 5. That is awesome. That's awesome. So he's had this for a while, and it's something that's the reason he was so highly touted coming out of high school. He was super exciting. He just never seemed to live up to all of that athleticism that he has. Now, with really good coaching, I think he could. You have to believe in your coaching staff a lot to take this guy this high. If you do, and the coaching staff does a really good job with him, he could be dominant in the NFL. Because those things that you can't teach, he has. He's ridiculously athletic. And at 6'3", 240, he's got pretty good size. He flies around the field, can go sideline to sideline, can blow up plays in the backfield. And what you like is all the potential. Let's start off with pass coverage. The potential. Oh, wow. This guy can match up man-to-man. He has the size to do it, and he's just as fast as any tight end or running back. And you see it at times, they match him up man-to-man. He could do that at the NFL level. But then you watch him, you see he's very grabby, very, very grabby. It's still someplace he has to really improve. And a lot of people say, well, I'd rather see him at zone because he's not the best man coverage guy. The issue is with zone, he looks completely lost. Man is better right now for him, in my opinion, because he relies more on his athletic ability than necessarily being in the right spot, his awareness, feel for coverage, because he doesn't seem to have any of it. He seems to be completely out of the play constantly in zone coverage. He's not much of a playmaker in coverage either. Like, there's certain occasions where he's nowhere near anybody. What is going on here with Dylan Moses? He just looked lost at times in an Alabama defense, which is pretty surprising, to be honest with you. He'll be easily fooled by a quarterback because he gets caught really staring at him. So if he looks things off, he'll get you completely out of position. He's actually maybe a little bit above average as a coverage linebacker in college, just because of the fact that he's so athletic that, he can really match up man-to-man with tight ends, running backs. He has the size to do it, so that's exciting. He is a little grabby, though, I will say that, but he has those physical tools. How about pass rushing? You love the thought of pass rushing. You see a couple occasions, he'll fly back there, get a sack. It's like, look how fast he is. But he doesn't really have any pass rush moves. He also doesn't shed blockers well at all. So if he's unblocked, he's an issue. He's a very big issue for teams. But can he get back there consistently? I don't know. Also, run defense. This guy, you'll see occasions of him filling a lane, filling a gap that a running back would be coming through, make a play in the backfield. Also, you love how explosive he is. He can start from one side of the field and work his way across the field and running back down. But issue in run defense, he's not much of a run clogger, and he really struggles to get off blocks. I mean, really struggles. Some guys struggle with it. He really does. I see many times where this guy will get blocked 10 plus yards down the field, and he just goes nowhere. He'll get picked up by a lineman, and it's over. I mean, it's a wrap. That's something that he needs to improve upon big time. I definitely don't think he's an outstanding run defender just because he struggles to shed blocks and really clog the middle and really just kind of, shut down a run game. And I think some of that maybe has to do with his size and probably why he's played an outside linebacker a little bit more. But he doesn't miss a lot of tackles. He's an above average tackler in the sense that he doesn't miss a lot. Usually he wraps up pretty well. So that's also a good part of his game. His draft stock, to me, if it's second round, is based on potential because he's not polished enough to be a second round pick. He didn't play well enough to be a second round pick. But with the right coaching, this guy could be a phenomenal player. He could be a freak because of how athletic he is. And like I said, you just can't teach it. So while I look at it as that's an early pick for him, if you believe in your coaching staff very highly, which I can understand, then there you go. You could take him. You could get that kind of speed. And you could say, hey, you got versatility as linebacker. If we can get you to even get close to your ceiling, you're going to be really tough in the NFL, and teams are going to wish they had that kind of just speed on their defense. The thing is, to me, he played at Alabama. We always knock guys for certain competition, but you also, I think, then can raise guys up maybe for competition because he played at Bama. He played really the best competition out there. So it wasn't like he was getting schooled by bad teams. He's playing NFL talent a lot of the time. He's in the best conference in college football. He did play against a lot of competition. He wasn't going against cupcakes and things like that. So I think he played a really good game against Missouri. If you want to check that one out, he looks like he was flying around the field. He could be a little bit of an issue early in his career, but if you're looking at this, and I think the next pick fits in this realm as well, if you're looking at this from, okay, where are we 2 years from now, getting guys like this with very high ceilings that, give it a season to kind of work with, develop, because they're not really going to win now this year. They've kind of already told us that. These picks could make even more sense. So, yeah, you could be drafting based off a high ceiling if you're looking at it from that realm. And I think the next guy fits that bill. So let's get to him. Moves me on to the third round. So with the 71st pick in the 2021 NFL Draft for the Detroit Lions, our man, Dylan, I forgot your name. I'm sorry. He selects safety Andre Cisco. Okay, I'll hold the L for that. I forgot your name for a second. Andre Cisco, the 6', 209-pound safety out of Syracuse. Man, if you watch Andre Cisco, it doesn't take you long to understand what he's best at. The guy is best at making plays in the back end. In the passing game, he is a ball hawk. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have said the same thing. He's a ball hawk. He's a ball hawk. The production tells you it first off. In 24 games, he has 13 picks and 14 passes broken up. What? Like for real? Oh my gosh, this guy is literally over a pick every other game. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. His production's off the charts. That's what he's best at. He's a great ball hawk. He turns into a receiver when the ball's in the air and up for grabs. He does a really good job, and he can fly across the whole field. He can be a cover one safety, which you don't find a lot, but he can cover most of the field. It's reported that at one point he ran a 4.33 40. Now, that's obviously just a little rumor, but wow. So he can fly around the field and cover a lot of space very, very quickly. And his ball skills, he can come down with contact, and he just takes advantage of opportunities that are there. You see a lot of guys get in position, but they can't make the play. This guy will make the play. Remember we got Duron Harmon? He was the closer because, he could finish off the play. Andre Cisco finishes off the play in college. So all of that is exciting. You see the versatility to be a split safety, a deep safety. You see him bump into the box. You'll see him match up at slot. You love that. You'll see occasions where he looks really good as a tackler. He'll fly down. He'll make hits, over the middle. He'll be able to tackle a running back, and you just see that speed. I mean, you see a lot of speed that can cover a lot of ground very, very quickly. Like Dylan Moses, in a way, the guy's ceiling is incredibly high because of just the skills that he has. But there are some mental issues, I would say, in terms of really just being a disciplined player. So one of the biggest issues in coverage is that he gets so locked onto a quarterback's eyes, it works against him. There's many occasions where you'll see play action completely fake him out, and he'll jump down on it, and he leaves someone deep. You'll see him in man coverage and slot, in a slot position where he's too busy watching the quarterback's eyes. He'll get caught flat-footed, and a guy will run right by him. All right, there's too many big plays he gives up. He's the type of guy that'll make a big interception and then give up a 70-yard touchdown right after it. Just up and down, up and down, up and down, with crazy high potential, but also some issues that come up. And it's not that consistent. When it comes to how does he do in run defense, you will see occasions where he'll lay a big hit. He'll come down, he'll fly down and make a nice tackle. That's why they try to bump him into the box, which is really not the best spot for him, to be honest. You know, every once in a while he'll have an impact play there, but it's almost like doesn't play to his size a little bit, but he's still not that big. I mean, he's only, 210 pounds? I mean, that's not that big to play in the box. He really struggles against blockers. He kind of just pushed off to the side. So I don't love him there. Notice when he's tackling is that he could take some really rough angles, especially in the run game, where he'll have a guy straight across from him and he'll run straight at him. And it puts him in a terrible, awful position. And he takes away from how much ability that he has, because a guy will just take an angle. He takes a really terrible pursuit angle and he'll get beat. He also, when he tackles, it sounds weird, but he tackles too low. Some guys tackle way too high. He almost tackles too low where he goes for the ankles too often, and guys can just kind of step out of it and they're going. You know, you almost want to see him just tackle a little bit higher, more consistently, take that physical challenge on and not go so low. I don't know if he's told himself that I got to go low, that way I don't get ran over. But this guy has enough physical strength to down a receiver or running back in space. I've seen it. Also coming off a torn ACL in 2020, which is concerning. Hey, Dylan, what's up with drafting injured guys? All right, we got more on here. I'm just saying, we got more guys that are, I don't know what's up. It's not your fault. It's not. Players get injured. But I understand. I do understand this pick because the ceiling is remarkably high. And since he can play in a split safety set, but also play cover one, be the deep safety, you see a lot of potential, a lot of versatility here. A guy that has tons of great traits, great ball skills, and you just kind of want to get that stuff cleaned up. With good coaching, like Moses, this guy can be talented, and I think this would be a great situation for him because I'm very sold on the guys that we have coaching our secondary players. I'm very sold on Aubrey Pleasant. I'm sold on Aaron Glenn. I've seen what they've done with young safeties, and I've seen how talented they got. So if the Lions aren't sold on Will Harris or Tracy Walker, probably more likely Will Harris, then this could be a pick they bring in to potentially compete and maybe even take that role right now if they love him, because this guy has a lot of upside, tons of upside, and with the right coaching, he could be great, and I think the Lions have that coaching here. I believe they have that coaching here. Linebacker, it's kind of wait and see a little bit for me, but I think they have the coaching for the safety to be tremendous, so a guy with this upside makes a lot of sense for me. Also, I think with Tracy Walker and Will Harris, I don't think either of those guys are really coverage playmakers. I think they're playmakers in different ways. I think Will Harris is more of a, guy that can go up and slot. I've seen that in his game. I think Tracy Walker be a playmaker in many different ways. But I think Cisco, I've seen him be a playmaker in coverage, as that deep safety. And when you're losing Duron Harmon, if you want someone to help replace that, I know he's young and he's unproven in the NFL, so it's definitely going to take time. You're going to have hiccups with him. But if you want to save some money and you'd rather just go with the draft pick and develop him and, go with that route 4 years, Cisco would be a pretty solid pick. I like this pick. I mean, I don't know what your thinking was, but I like it. I think it's a smart idea. Just depends on how they feel about Will Harris and Tracy Walker and if they want to take one this high. It is kind of high for a safety, I think, knowing our needs. We had a defense coordinator that comes from a secondary background. Wouldn't shock me if you want to get secondary players. Let's move into the fourth pick in this draft by Dylan. And with the fourth pick at number 88, our man Dylan selects for the Detroit Lions Tylan Wallace, the receiver out of Oklahoma State. Wallace comes in at 5'11", 185 pounds, and he gives us some more depth at the receiver position. So you got Devonta, you got Wallace, you got Cephas, you got Ellison. I don't know if you're planning on bringing Kenny Galladay back, but you definitely filled out a lot of depth here, and I think you got two really good receivers. Of course, we know what Smith can do, but I think Tylan Wallace is very overlooked. See, he broke out in his sophomore year, and he was remarkable, and it kind of put him on the map. People were saying this guy could be a first-round pick, and then he got injured. He tore his ACL, and it was like, oh, dang, come on, tore your ACLs. What are you doing, Dylan? But he did come back in 2020 strong, and he didn't, really suffer from it. He came back, and he looked fine, so that may scare people a little bit, but for the most part, what we saw last year is, okay, he looked okay. He looked pretty good. Okay, he looked strong last season, and he came out and he had a really good year once again, and now he's projecting as a day 2 pick. Him moving the slot could be actually very beneficial to him at the NFL level. I actually think he probably would get pushed to slot in this situation. It's either that, or he maybe tries to add a little bit more muscle, because there were certain times in college, a great example would be against Oklahoma. You watched him against Trey Brown, he would get thrown off of routes consistently just because he was out physicaled. You know, he just doesn't have that physical and that muscle really right now, and he would get thrown off of routes consistently. He could really benefit from being put in a slot. He already has experience there. He's also extremely quick off the line, which makes you think that he could be very beneficial in the slot because he's very quick. Very quick. He always pops off the line. He's got really nice energy all the time. He's always flying around, but he also has really good footwork, and he's clean. He's very clean off the snap, and it allows him to get some really good releases. You love him on slants. Oh my gosh, this guy finds a way to get great separation on quick hitters like slants. You love it. Also has that top end speed with a track background where you can see on go routes that he can really, you know, kind of turn it on to a second level, and he can kind of take off. He's not as exciting as some of the other speedy receivers out there, but he does have a little get up. You know, he has a little bit in the tank once he gets going. So you get him on those deep routes. Now, he did have a slightly, I would say, limited route tree, you could say, at Oklahoma State, where you saw go route, slant, sometimes an out route. Not much more than that. Every once in a while, they mix something else in. But you know the ability because he does have pretty good route running. I love his footwork. He can stop on an absolute dime. It's just that he doesn't have awesome size that gets you excited. He doesn't have awesome athleticism or top end speed that gets you excited. He's not super elusive with the ball in his hand, and he's also not extremely powerful, so he can get pushed off of routes. So that's why I don't think he's exciting to people. But in terms of a reliable receiver that was kind of the go-to guy at Oklahoma State that can bump the slot if you wanted to, I love that about him. And like I said, I think maybe if you put some a little bit more muscle, you could put him at outside, play maybe Devonta more at slot, but two versatile receivers here for sure. Two guys that can play both positions and be very effective. Tylan Wallace is a good receiver. I also like how competitive he is. He's very competitive in blocking situations. He always seems to be running, always seems to have his motor going. He always seems to have energy, and he's just rolling along. So I like Tylan Wallace. He makes a lot more contested grabs than what you would think. He plays way bigger than his size. He's a legit deep threat. Like at 5'11", 185, he's a legit go up and get it because he has really nice body control. I just don't think he has those traits that excite people, and that's why he's kind of forgotten, and then the injury in 2019. But I'm telling you, if he played 2019, he probably would have came out of the draft in 2019, and you know what? If you put all three good seasons together, assuming you put the same season, because he has that kind of talent, it's just really getting out physical. So I could see him bump to the slot. Main worry about this pick, well, now I have two receivers with similar concerns. With Devonta Smith, it's not much I saw at the release. It's more just, you know, contested grabs. That's actually not the issue for me from what I've seen, you know, when I've watched Tylan Wallace. He is actually really good at making contested grabs, playing bigger than his size. For him, it's being out physical during the route and kind of being thrown off this route, and it can jack up the timing. So kind of concerning there that you have two guys with those similar issues. Do you really want that? I mean, I don't know if you want to go that route. Maybe you want to get a bigger size guy because Cephas doesn't really bring you that either. Assuming that Smith is able to translate to the NFL well, which we're all thinking he will. And then you look at a guy like Tylan Wallace, you know, you can move him around a little bit. I think he could put on some muscle, and I think he could be a very strong receiver that's pretty good all-around receiver. Not really anything that pops out to you, but really no major flaws either. Let me know in the comments, Dylan, if you're watching this. Did you bring Kenny Golladay back? Are you assuming they bring Golladay back or no? So let's move on to the next pick. This pick comes at 112. This is a defensive player. Jaylen Twyman would project as a 4-3 defensive tackle that could help if Nick Williams is gone, potentially Danny Shelton to pair with a guy like John Pennicini. And I think the thing that you want about him is you want him to work to his upside to potentially being a pretty nice pass rushing threat from the interior. So, okay, you're looking with these late picks. You're talking day 3. You're thinking, okay, what kind of foundation can we build off of with some of these young guys? And I think that's what you're looking for here when you draft certain players, and I think that's what you're looking for in Jaylen Twyman. So what does he have in his game that you can build off of? To me, what he has in his game, played almost all the snaps last season for UCLA, which is pretty awesome. Okay, you saw him out there on, you know, you can see him play all 3 downs, which means that obviously he's not a one-trick pony. He can do a lot of different things, and they relied on him in a lot of different situations. Also, a lot of times, because they're a 4 defensive line front, you would see him get double-teamed. The center would go his direction, which if that was the case in the NFL, you'd see, you know, open up other guys. Don't expect that to be the case, so that can mean that he could potentially get some one-on-one opportunities, but I like his hands. He has a really nice swim move. It's actually kind of deadly when he gets that thing rolling. He may do it too often, I would say, though, but he loves that move, man. And he also likes the push and pull technique, which is pretty nice as well. He has a little bit of a cross block, so he has a pretty nice set of pass rush moves right now. Really rely on his hands and his arms that he's pretty good at. But where does he need to improve? He needs to improve, to me, physically getting stronger. I don't think he's strong enough right now. 6'2", 290, you may think, oh, that's weird. I just don't think he's strong enough right now. I think he needs to work on putting on more muscle. See, you don't see him collapse the pocket very often. He can't really shove an offensive lineman back and, you know, kind of push the pocket back on the quarterback. I don't see that enough. I rarely see that, actually. And that comes when he's single team. When he's double teamed, I get it, but when he's single team, you don't usually see it that much. So I would like to see him, you know, put on some more muscle. And we didn't get to see him last year. He opted out from 2020, so you're wondering if that's what he was working on. Now, his athleticism is solid, but I just don't think that it's something that he can really rely upon. So I think he needs to make sure that he puts on a little bit more muscle, gives himself the ability to push back an offensive lineman, to really collapse a pocket in on an offensive lineman. That way it's not, hey, did my pass rush moves work? If not, it's kind of stuck, because his ability to collapse the pocket really isn't there right now. You got a really nice bend for a 290-pound defensive tackle that has some pretty well-oiled initial strike pass rush moves that if you could put on a little bit more muscle, give you maybe more push and collapsing the pocket, also continue to develop some of his counter pass rush moves, now you're talking as a legitimate pass rushing defensive tackle that teams really, really like to have, because they're big guys that can get after the quarterback and they're not a liability in the run game. But he was he could be a 3-down threat in college. Always think you can add more pass rush moves. I never think that's a bad thing. I think that's something you can work on, maybe adding a spin move to that, maybe some more counter attacks. One thing that I noticed he does is a lot, which is really good actually, is he uses an offensive lineman momentum against them. So sometimes when he's outpowered because he doesn't really push them back, they're pushing on him, he'll kind of just use his way to slide out of the way and almost throw them on the ground. I mean, I've seen multiple occasions where this guy will throw an offensive lineman on the ground because he'll use his entire momentum against him. But it's because he doesn't have that strength to rock an offensive lineman back. All right, that punch isn't there. That those heavy hands aren't there. I don't see that. So I think that's where he needs to continue to improve. He has pretty average to maybe slightly above average athleticism. So I think that'll be fine. You see a little bit when he's all in open space, when he runs a little bit. Final pick in this mock draft. And oh, thank goodness. Thank you so much for adding this pick, man. If I didn't know about this guy, if you didn't put this in your mock, I would have never known about this guy. And I'm so glad I did. And literally, like I said, at one point I was standing up, just like getting hype. I was like, this dude is a sleeper. This is a diamond in the rough. So thank you. Who is it? Who are we talking about? We're talking about Ellerson Smith. Ellerson Smith, the edge out of Northern Iowa. So he played for an FCS school that got an invite to the Senior Bowl, and oh my goodness, is this dude talented. 6'7", 245 pounds. Now, for our scheme, if we go to a 4-3, you're probably thinking maybe put on some more weight. And that's what I would like to see him do. I'd like to see him maybe add 10, 15 pounds if he could. But he plays a lot stronger than his weight would suggest. One thing that I would like to see him add, production-wise, playing at Northern Iowa, of course, he's not going against the top-tier competition, but he had ridiculous production. He had 14 sacks. So the question is, how is that going to translate to the Senior Bowl against that kind of competition? Oh my gosh, he was tremendous in one-on-ones. This guy was dominant in one-on-ones. And why was he so dominant? It's his counter pass rush moves. He is so polished and he's so quick. He's very quick off of the release, which is something you saw a ton at Northern Iowa, but you see how great his counter pass rush moves are. A swim move, I'm talking about a rip through. I mean, they are beautiful and it's quick. It's boom, it's going. I mean, it's swimming, it's ripping through the offensive lineman. You make that initial contact and then it's quick counter and he's back there. I mean, he is fast. And 6'7" obviously gives you the length, maybe knock down some passes, help set the edge, but I think he does need to add a little weight, especially if we go to a 4-3. I don't see him dropping back into coverage that often, really at all. So I think he needs to put on a little bit of weight, get a little bit more stronger, because that's one part that he kind of lacks, is that initial attack. Kind of stuck and he's kind of just out of the play and he just kind of stands there because he's not really pushing an offensive lineman back. So put a little more weight on, get some more power, try to continue to work on that first punch and get some heavy hands and really kind of throw an offensive lineman back. I also think sometimes he gets himself standing up too high and he loses leverage at 6'7". Once he stands up straight, he doesn't really have anything because he's already not that powerful anyways. So when he's standing up completely straight up, he's kind of taken out of the play. He has no momentum pushing him forward, and it's very difficult for him to get into the backfield. Little light build, he can get bullied by certain offensive linemen. Power, you put on some weight so you can help set the edge. He's got a legit shot to be a nice diamond in the rough. Imagination. I think he could surprise people with his power initially. Some people weren't expecting him to be as powerful. I didn't think he would at 245, but he's got some muscle on him. He's got some muscle. I think he put a little more, and of course, he's pretty athletic at that size as well. So, maybe 10 pounds. I don't want you to add 30 pounds and become 285 pounds and slow down and take away the athletic ability. Just give me 10 more. 245, him being able to really fit in a 4-3 defense. So I need him to add some weight if this is the pick. If it's not the pick, okay, makes sense. But if it is the pick, I don't think there's any way that I can have him out there at defensive end at 245. So add maybe 10 pounds to it. Don't add, 30, 40 and get slow. I don't want that. You can play at 255. You can play 260. You could be a nice depth defensive end. Now, is this the biggest need for the Lions? I don't think so. unless Romeo's gone, but I don't think so. But I do like the fact that you could develop him into something for the future. But man, this guy is exciting. I'm telling you guys, I'm so glad you put this on here because I'm so glad I got to learn about him. Ellerson Smith, remember the name. That is it. That is the mock draft from our man Dylan. What do you guys think? All right, so you got 2 receivers. Obviously, receiver position looks solid. You didn't go with any offensive linemen. You didn't trade back. There's only so much you could do. I get it. You got a linebacker. Not my favorite linebacker, but you did get a linebacker with potential. You got a safety, so that puts in question Will Harris's future. Obviously, like I said, there's other ways out of it with this. Whoever gives me a great running back, I'm gonna give them an A+. But seriously though, I think it's a solid draft for the direction that you took with it. I think it's a solid draft. You got a lot of upside players, but guys that are gonna need work for sure. So that could be a good thing, knowing that okay, we're not trying to compete this year. You don't necessarily need 4-year players that are gonna give me production right away. You could be looking at more, okay, let's develop them and see where they are 2 years from now, just like we are as a team. So that's why I think it makes a lot of sense. So I don't have an issue with the draft. What do you guys think? The best draft without trade backs? That's tough. That's bold. Let me know. Thank you, Prime, for watching, and hopefully these guys stay healthy. Thank you, Prime, for watching, and I'm out.